Here with me is Matt Douglas. He's our solutions engineer. And then we also have Rob Messmer, who changed his title overnight to channel chief.
Nice. There you go.
You got that approved already.
Already approved.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is this thing on?
Yeah.
One of these times, I will have a. Who've seen Wolf of Wall Street? Wouldn't that be a great intro to one of these where I get up here and just start screaming and pounding my chest and you guys all go crazy? Well, you're right. Well, pretend we're doing that today. I want to start off with a little bit of a market forecast. And what we're kind of a view we're taking is from the traditional hardware sales in the market, right? So what's happening to traditional hardware sales in your customer base? It's going away. It's going down. Morgan Stanley basically says hardware manufacturers are going to have a tough year. IDC put a number on it, and it's going to be a 4.6% decline. That's transformational. And what's fueling that and where that's going, we'll talk through. Obviously, there's a ton of as-a-service products that your customers are now going to AWS, Salesforce, Microsoft 365, and that is driving huge talk around SD-WAN and CPE as a service. I think everyone's heard of SD-WAN, correct? Software-defined wide area networking. But there's still what's interesting to me about this is every manufacturer, as that has become a buzzword, what do? They say, oh yeah, I do SD-WAN. I'm Riverbed, I do it. Juniper, I do it. VeloCloud, I do it. Cisco changed IWAN to SD-WAN. So it is a huge space, and it's being driven by the fact that your customers, as you know, are wanting to consume technology as a service, but they need an easy way to get there and a secure way to get there. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let me back up and tell you a little bit about CBB. And I'm going to start at kind of the corporate umbrella layer. We've gone through a lot of changes recently with acquisitions, and we're going to continue to do more in this space. And we really have two different business units. Our ticker is CBB. You can look us up on the New York Stock Exchange. We have $1.2 billion in revenue, 3,000 employees, headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio. These numbers to the right are post-close on two acquisitions we just made. When you look at how our business is going to be built, really two silos, two different sub-companies within our organization, IT services and fiber services. So brands, currently CBTS is a $400 million VAR in Cincinnati. We just recently purchased Onyx. That's a company a VAR headquartered out of Toronto. But we bought a VAR out of Toronto and New York with offices and headquarters in New York and Toronto. Next one. We also have fiber assets. So Cincinnati Bell is a triple play offering in Cincinnati. We just recently announced that we're purchasing Hawaiian Telecom. Next. So why would you, I just went through that the VAR space, purchasing IT hardware is on the decline. Well, why would you buy a VAR if it's on the decline? Well, what we want to do is turn those VAR services that traditionally are purchase orders, non-recurring revenue, CapEx models for customers, and turn those into monthly recurring services, also known as blank as a service, OpEx, utility models. We want to make it consumable in a monthly fashion. Fiber services in markets where we have fiber. Now in Cincinnati and the Hawaiian Islands, when that closes, we'll have places where we can be a triple play threat. Our target markets for each of these divisions: commercial for IT services, obviously, fiber services, both residential and consumer. And lastly, our footprint for IT services is North America, and obviously fiber services are where we have fiber assets. This is who we are. for this channel and this discussion, it's important that we're going to be focused very heavily on the IT services portion. That's where, as we've built, we're new partners to TCG, but as we've been seeing success in the channel, and Matt's going to take you through a couple customer examples, it's really on the IT services front that we've been having huge success. Now, if you want to order some circuits in places that we have assets, we'd love to take those orders as well. Okay? So we have some, I'd like to make it simple and focus on a couple services that are really getting traction in the channel. And what we're doing are taking VAR hardware services and turning them to as a service. So we provide Cisco as a service. You can now sell Cisco to your clients as a monthly recurring charge. Okay? That typically, right now we're getting a lot of traction on the voice side of things, but we're continuing to roll out new SKUs for all different types of Cisco service.
Call manager as well?
Yes, call manager was a question.
Talk about a case with call manager, absolutely. Yep.
Who's heard of Cisco Meraki or seen it in their client base? Who would love to sell it as a monthly recurring service? We can do that. Next. VeloCloud as a service. A lot of people have heard of SD-WAN and heard of VeloCloud. We have some very different ways that we're implementing VeloCloud so that you can deliver SD-WAN. We'll talk about those with some customer examples. And lastly, UCaaS, BroadSoft Polycom. I think everybody does this in the space. We're not leading with this product, but when you start to talk to customers and build as we've built SD-WAN networks for our customer base through the channel, a natural drag along many times is UCaaS. And so we can provide one throat to choke. Those are kind of right in our wheelhouse of shrink wrap products that you can sell on a monthly recurring basis, get paid commission on, for hardware that maybe you kind of have to cobble things together today to get there. We also, based on our VAR background, have some custom solutions where we use our VAR practice, managed services, professional services, and an eNOC, and we have over 100 different manufacturers that we sell, and we can sell that as a one-time hardware sale. We can sell it as a kind of a managed service that we wrap things together from over 100 different brands in our VAR space. Again, the strategy is how do we help your customers, because they're moving from one-time hardware sales to as a service, and we're going to enable you to sell all those hardware manufacturers and start bringing them into shrink-wrap monthly recurring offerings that you can bring to them. Customers don't have to worry about maintenance. They don't have to worry about purchase orders. They don't have to worry about all those things. Well, guess who's right there to sell that to them in the channel? You are. And we want to make that available to you. Next. Again, we can get into a lot of detail on that last slide. I just want you guys thinking, when I hear my customer talk about Cisco, when I hear him talk about SD-WAN, call us. Call Katie. She can help you diagnose whether it's an opportunity that's a good fit. A couple things that make us different. One, an enterprise eNOC. We handle it's easy to say an eNOC. When you dig in under the covers on some partners, sometimes it's a guy on the weekend getting a call on his cell phone at his kid's soccer game on Saturday. This is a professional eNOC, tier 1 through 4, that we provide customers, your customers. We take about 250,000 tickets annually, so this is true 365. We have one of our assets is we have a deep sales engineering team. Matt leads that team for the channel. We fundamentally believe that when you get a customer engagement, we want to help you determine whether we're a good fit for that solution or for that customer and their solution. And many times we'll tell you, look, it's not in our wheelhouse. Here's a service provider that might be a better fit. But if they're looking for SD-WAN, if they're looking for CPE as a service and a way to get there, we can help you typically. Professional project management. For all of our installations, we handle all of the white glove project management and interface with your client on your behalf.
So with respect to the dispatch, do concentrated in this market, or are you outsourcing to third parties?
A little bit of both, depending on where it is. We whitelist, so we're working on behalf of many customers, and so we've whitelisted in many geographies who we really like. So if it's a third party, we whitelist that person, and we can keep dispatching somebody that knows our technology.
In this market, we would use a third party.
In this, yeah, particular market, third party.
But we have been doing this. This is a nationwide product that we've been doing now for a couple of years. And to his point, vetting out particular partners, making sure that they understand our product, what needs to be done to be installed, that it's all backed up by centralized project management, install teams, et cetera.
Yeah.
Do you have one organization that you, I'm sorry to,
No, keep going.
do you have one organization that you focus your business to? So, you know, let's say you've got 100 customers in this market. I mean, are you giving it to 30 different vendors in this market, or?
No,
one
two.
that you-
Typically, we've got three, and you typically try and work on two of them. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but we can get that back to you.
I'm
So
just
we-
curious.
No,
Yeah.
we want to be able to manage that group a little tighter, yeah.
Co-management. So one of the things that makes us different, the services that we're implementing are co-managed. So if you're an MSP, if you're in this space already, you can use our web-enabled dashboards in conjunction with us, use our backstop as the 365 eNoc, and it really allows for us and agents and MSPs to scale their business because of co-management. The last thing that's interesting is bandwidth agnostic, BYOB, and this is critical for, I think, this space. A lot of companies that are coming out, a lot of carriers that are bringing out SD-WAN, what do they require?
Contracts?
What's that?
Contract?
Contracts, or they're requiring more to bandwidth using their bandwidth, right? They want to be on net with them. Either there's price differences on that. We're completely bandwidth agnostic. You could bring your own aggregator. You can cobble together different carriers. We basically put our equipment at the end of the wire, manage it fully for you in a monthly recurring fashion, pay you the commission. And in most of the deals we're working on in the channel, the agent has brought the carrier, they're getting paid on that separate from us, and then they bring us in for the CPE as a service, the SD-WAN, and we manage it at the edge of the wire. If needed, we can take first call repair for all of it. So we'll get LOA from your customer and take first call repair. Next. A lot of our customers are where we're headquartered in Cincinnati, so you'll see some of those, but we followed our customers globally. What our focus is now is how do we implement this in the channel to get into your backyards? So that's why we're very bullish on the channel, why we want to use trusted advisors like you in the space to take this into your backyard. Next, Matt's going to walk through some customer examples. So you get an engineer and a whiteboard, and good things happen, but kind of walk through with real case examples with your feedback where we're winning, why we're winning, and hopefully that gets some questions going from the audience. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rob. So, any questions on this? Because I think the two big things we want to leave away today is what are the Cisco products, the Cisco technology stack, and what can we deliver for you there? Turn that into recurring revenue, turn that into monthly revenue for you. So what's that Cisco stack and services? I think that's one message we want to get through. So, any questions on that? And the other one then is we want to talk a little bit about VeloCloud, what we think we can do on the SD-WAN side. A lot of players there, but we think we can bring some interesting things there at times too. So on the Cisco side, you brought up a question on call management. Okay? So there has been a void of certs, right? When we talk to customers today, and I think you guys would probably agree with me, tell me, compute being moved to the cloud. We're starting to see people building clouds in Azure, AWS. So the world is moving these services to cloud orchestrated solutions, right? We met with Dana Corp, a Fortune 100 company, about a month ago, meeting with the CIO, we're talking about what's going on, he stops the whole room, he says, first let me tell you what we do strategically. Today, if we have a business problem, we're trying to solve a business outcome, the first thing we do is say, can we buy it as software as a service? Meaning, can we buy it as cloud orchestrated from somebody? Because I don't want to own infrastructure, I don't want to employ people doing infrastructure, et cetera. So we see these big movements just like everybody else does, right? Now, if that's the case, and you start then saying, okay, in the Cisco stack, well, what's one of the problems that we've all had, at least in the channel, trying to build recurring revenue, because that's where we all grow up, right, and make our money, is in the LAN environment, the local area network, right? Routers, switches, firewalls, access points, cameras. We can't make a dime on it. Who in here has a way to get paid on a monthly service for selling hardware? Not very easy, right? That's this whole Cisco and Meraki stack we're talking about, okay? So as an example, let's say a company called Suntel that we're working with. They basically wanted to come in, they had a whole bunch of disparate switches, disparate routers, disparate access points. In our case, they also wanted to get to cloud telephony, so very similar to LSI. We do have a BroadSoft platform and a Cisco platform, right? So we basically came in, installed Meraki MXs at the edge, Meraki PoEs, Meraki access points, dropped telephones in there, happened to be, in this case happened to be on top of BroadSoft. And what was before this kind of disparate environment with a bunch of PBXs, et cetera. Now, by the way, they had also moved away from MPLS, and so this was all internet connectivity. But this particular agent now picked up a monthly recurring stream for this entire local area stack, and this UCAS all as one provider. So one of the things we had a meeting yesterday with TCG kind of talking about our offering and wanted to make sure that we got the message across that when you guys run into any kind of a stack here in a local area network, whether it's multiple locations, whether it's one location, we've got a stack to be able to drop Meraki in there as a managed service, like Rob was talking about, co-managed. We do the whole thing from the pre-sales design, so we engage with our SE team to help them understand IP addressing issues, and is the customer going to use their firewall? Do they need a new Meraki firewall? This stack actually would work with LSI secure service if you wanted to use that, right? So we would work with you in the pre-sales design, then have install and project management, local teams to install that. In the case of UCAS, we're actually flying people to places because these deals are big enough to have local installers, right, and trainers. And then that day two support, the knock that Rob talked about.
What size deal makes it worth doing?
Now, in this particular stack right here of just the MX, we have that down to literally one location. So Rob has kind of coined a term that we've been sharing with partners of, you want fries with that. Meaning literally you sell a 100 meg connection to somebody, a 10-person office, a 50-person office, and if you also realize they need to upgrade a firewall, a PoE, and access points and things like that, we'll sell down to one location with that Meraki stack.
Okay, so basically bringing in the router,
Yep,
you layer everything on top.
Absolutely.
And you
Yep.
sell this out.
that's correct. And we'll engage them with the SE team as well, because maybe in that situation, they already have an existing Fortinet or Sonic Wall firewall they want to keep, but they want to use some other components. These are the things that we can work with you. And
So, with hardware as a service, what do you do, how does your company handle the situation where you have deployed the equipment, you're selling hardware as a service, now the equipment that's deployed is end of life, or end of support. Customer's still in their contract with you, and they're saying, look, this stuff is end of life, end of support. What are you, Cincinnati Bell, going to do about that?
we simply replace it.
Do you?
So, absolutely. So that's part of the value proposition we talk to customers, right? Because one of the reasons we talk with customers, right? The challenge call it the challenge of chasing technology. It's a pain in the butt to keep track of infrastructure. All the points you just talked about. Not only keeping track, is it in service life? That if one dies, who's going to replace it? Who in the rooms have been part of a router dying on an MPLS network? You ship one out, it's not configured properly, and suddenly you got some 2-day outage for what should have been a very simple thing. So this cloud orchestration brings moves, adds, and changes, deployment very easily, right? Because you can deploy this stuff in weeks as opposed to many months, right? But then as far as managing end of life, we're managing all of that. So in fact, even with our contracts, if they get large enough, we'll put in their abilities to downturn offices, move those offices around, things like that. So when we sell this Meraki stack, this Cisco stack as a managed piece, If for whatever reason it went into end of life, we're simply replacing those things. At the same time, if 24 months from now they acquire a new company or merge locally, all of a sudden they 3 times the size and they need an upgrade, we're just going to seamlessly come in and upgrade that. And we'll make sure we can set this up in a coterminous way as well, because the last thing you want is customers with a bunch of locations with different terminations on it.
This is going to sound like an odd question. Can you support this worldwide?
That is one thing we're working on. Now, that's a great question. The equipment itself, right? When you take and deploy a Meraki stack or deploy a VeloCloud piece, anything that's cloud orchestrated, if you basically up here put, cloud orchestrated infrastructure, right? It's going to phone home and you're going to be able to configure that from anywhere, right?
Right.
The challenge is, one, going to be service, and then 2, billing in dollars in Asia, Europe, things like that.
Right, and also importing into some of these countries.
That's
Yeah.
correct. So that today, our service, if you've got an opportunity, this really is more national, although we have had some customers then take and we bill US and they ship some pieces if they've just got a couple locations. But today, this is not a great fit for a 50 location global company, of which 40 of them are out of the country. But that is one way. We believe one of the things we're excited about with the Onyx purchase is that they are in fact a more global company than us, and they're going to bring some billing entities that we're working on that, but I don't have anything immediately on that.
For a large client or even a small client where they have old equipment, do you help them with that 200 location and all of their old equipment that you're replacing? Is there anything that you do to help them with that whole piece?
That's a great segue, and I promise I did not pay her for that.
I did.
You did. So you mentioned call manager earlier. You asked a question about call manager. We are just right now putting the finishing touches on a contract. National company, about 1,200 phones of a mixture of Cisco Call Manager and Avaya phones, about 17 locations. And their problem is they literally just lost 2 staff members and lost the people who manage the entire telephony infrastructure. So they've got a panic situation on their hands. So one thing, when you go to this chart basically here, we've got some 600 technicians, 10 CCIEs, we could get you a list of all the certifications, but we've got a bunch of professional services and a bunch of services where we'll manage customer existing equipment. They capitalize the equipment they bought and we manage it. So this company's got a problem, 17 locations, 1,200 handsets, a mixture of Cisco and Avaya, and the first thing they need is somebody to come in and manage that for them. And a partner brought this opportunity to us. So we're coming in and giving to this company $15,000 a month management fee to put a person on site, basically, and our executives back up in the NOC, to manage their existing telephony infrastructure and take care of it today. That's phase 1. Phase 2 then for us is to take all those Cisco phones that are registered locally, okay, and drop those, then basically remove their Cisco Call Manager and move them to a hosted Cisco Call Manager product. We're one of the 3 or 4 folks in the country who really can do hosted Cisco Call Manager pretty effectively. We've wrapped the Cisco Enterprise Call Center around it. What's the announcement product? Informat, I think maybe it's called. A whole bunch of service around it. Because there was some logos you saw up here earlier. We've been doing hosted telephony. We've got about 150,000 hosted telephony phones under management in the United States, and then about another 400,000 phones where we just manage the infrastructure for companies. So we've been doing this quite some time. There was a picture there of the state of Ohio. We won the business state of Ohio. We got 30,000 hosted Cisco phones for the state of Ohio, 10,000 Cisco hosted phones for the state of Indiana, so we can also do GovEd work on this platform too. So back to the kind of the question of, we came in first, this partner, normally a partner wouldn't be able to have anybody to bring in to manage this existing environment. So we brought them in, they're going to make the decision on that. The next step then is moving them to our Cisco. We use all their existing phones, rip out their infrastructure. It's going to step it up about $30,000 a month. Cisco, the partner's getting that normal large commission check for that, right? And the last part then is removing the Avaya in phase 3, okay? As part of that as well, they're interested in moving away from MPLS and moving in SD-WAN. There's a lot of choices out there. What we happen to, in our situation, is our deployment of VeloCloud. We have placed gateways in front of our nationwide telephony services, right? We do nationwide number portability, caller ID, all the kinds of same things you heard from LSI earlier. We've got gateways in front of cloud telephony. We've got gateways in front of Salesforce, okay? And we've got gateways we can provide customers in front of Azure and AWS. So this last phase 3 with this customer I talked about, they're going to get rid of MPLS. They're literally putting VeloCloud at the edge. We're building rules to get back to their applications, their existing ERP systems, building rules to go to their Azure cloud, rules to go to AWS because they're building applications here, rules to get to cloud telephony, right? And then rules to get to Office 365. So we basically took what was an existing Cisco platform, came in with our managed services, helped kind of save the day, and then slowly migrate them to these services. Now, one of the interesting things about VeloCloud in particular, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but it uses a concept called packet duplication for what's called a quality of experience, where you can literally build vectors of experience per application. And so in this case, literally a phone can be hanging off of here at the other end of the internet, registered back to our Cisco cloud. Let's say the phone's talking, it sends packets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out, leaves the edge of the world. It's going across the internet, but it gets over here and it's packet 1, 2's missing, 4 and 3 are out of order, 5's missing, and 6 is there. We had a great phone call here, we got a crap phone call here. This technology, right, VeloCloud's one of the people who pioneered this packet duplication and the ability to set up all these different application vectors. We've expanded it with a bunch of gateways and a practice around it. But in this situation, literally, we've tested up to so what happens here, packet loss is happening. VeloCloud Box is smart enough to know, this technology is smart enough to know this particular application stream's failing, sends another stream immediately. The other end of the earth here, we're missing 1, we get 2, 3, 4, 5 together, and we're missing 6. We add them all together, and now we got a phone call, and it takes about 10 milliseconds. And that rule can be done for voice, it can be done for software as a service, it can be done back to their Azure AWS clouds that they're building, all right? And we've actually tested this up and had up to a 40% packet loss in this environment and been able to have a phone call, and you can't tell the difference. It's absolutely incredible. I see a couple of heads nodding. It's pretty incredible stuff. Yeah. The punchline to this, we got a little bit off on SD-WAN, but the punchline is, the first part is this LAN infrastructure, whether it's, to your point, one location or multiple locations, you can be selling Cisco as a service managed Meraki gear into these locations, Cisco managed telephony, and in the past that's not been easy for folks in your space to be able to get a hold of. Any kinds of questions about that, thoughts?
Who has retail customers in the room? This is where big money can be. This is my Wolf of Wall Street thing. This is where big money's made, because so we're working with an organization. It's a retail restaurant chain with over 3,000 locations, and they're looking at, for every location, the Cisco Meraki as a service and Cisco phones as a service. For each site, it's a couple $100 times 3,000 locations, $600,000 opportunity in the space.
We're working
In
with
addition-
we're working with a partner on that and full commission on that.
Right.
Yes.
In addition to that, that agent is also sourcing all the bandwidth for all those locations. So this is, there's some windows in time where there's a huge opportunity in this space. If you can get a retail customer to deploy and start thinking about CP as a service and bandwidth, you'll be in the front seat for driving all the things that follow that of Internet of Things. Meraki has cameras that you can deploy. All those things are a great first step. Alan?
We spoke about this yesterday, but give them an idea of what the Meraki encompasses. So in other words, what products are with that, so that for those who don't know it,
Yep.
really what it entails, because it's a box full of a lot of different kinds of things, depending on how you buy it.
And we'd love to do a webinar on this at some point too, so we can set that up. Absolutely. The basic Meraki stack, draw kind of 4 boxes here. Meraki stack is an edge device they call the MX series. And the MX series Meraki stack is there is an SD-WAN component to it, SD-WAN Lite. There is some SD-WAN flex or capabilities in there. But the big part of a Meraki stack too is it's a full UTM, a full unified threat management stack. And so it's got full firewall capabilities, IDS, IPS, malware, web filtering, application filtering, those things. From a medium-sized office. It's not really an enterprise. You wouldn't put this at the core of Dow Elanco, wouldn't put this at the core of their DC, right, data center. But for your larger branches, et cetera, even medium-sized, it's a very nice technology stack around UTM. So it's this edge device that has some SD-WAN and then this full firewall unified threat management kind of capabilities. There's a whole set of PoE switches then, those layer 2 and layer 3, all right? A whole set of access points, both indoor and outdoor. Meraki, one of the common misconceptions of Meraki you sometimes hear from customers is they're really not enterprise ready. And Meraki, Cisco bought them, I think, what, 2009? 12, okay. They have just grown incredibly since Cisco bought them. They have also put quite a bit of work into their stack, and so this access point stack really has done a nice job. They've got full 3 and 4 spatial radios, both indoor and outdoor. They've done a nice job on the access points. They've also just added a whole group of cameras as well that we're getting ready to launch. So we are actually just one of a couple people in the country who can sell this as a utility, as a service. There's no upfront, they're not capitalizing anything, because the challenge for some people in Meraki too is with Meraki, it's like in the old world with a Cisco router. If you bought a Cisco router, it would work forever. It might go into service and into life, but it would work forever, right? In the Meraki world, you buy a stack of equipment from Meraki, you give them a check for $5,000, let's say, for an edge device or whatever. You also have to buy a 1, 3, or 5-year license, and at the end of that license period, the box turns down. It turns off in 30 days. So Cisco's, with the Meraki stack, they kind of want a big chunk of money up front, and then you got to, it's incredible. It's incredible. But it's incredible technology. What's with part of this demo we could do in a WebEx, literally there is an entire cloud orchestration layer that you can see every single PoE port, every single desktop hanging off of it, every application they're using. You could shut a user down, you can build multiple guest SSIDs, and you can build a heck of a business solution around the stack.
So traditionally, when you buy Cisco gear, you register a customer, right, and they get their CIE, right, or whatever, the registration. And they're given a price by a vendor or a group of vendors for their product. But in this model, it's actually Cincinnati Bell that's buying the equipment, so there's really no registration. So the price is, isn't discounted. The base price of the hardware isn't discounted like it would be, meaning that the end result of the monthly cost to the customer potentially would be higher or be significantly higher.
So what we found is, as we've worked with customers, they kind of know the game with Cisco and go, when do I register? Who do I register with? Like, you don't have to. And when they do the TCO based on managing the gear, buying the gear, maintenance of the gear, and we can help you with these models, it's actually more affordable to buy it as a service provider monthly than it is to pay the one time for the hardware, the maintenance. So it's even with the registration.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The retail
And
customer.
you'll build that ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll help you go through that.
But I might throw a little flip to that, though. Who was seen on the cloud telephony side, right? When we used to sell PBX 10 years ago, we would talk about how much was the total cost of ownership of a PBX over 10 years, and what was the total cost of a ShoreTel or a MyTel over 10 years. Because the frustration and aggravation of managing that infrastructure has gotten so high, we don't care anymore. We're buying something as a monthly service. If I'm going to pick up your cell phone, it's kind of like this, right? A cell phone, I'm going to spend $80 a month for the rest of my life, and I don't have any choice. Cloud telephony has gotten there, okay? What we're starting to see with cloud infrastructure, we believe, is the same kind of emotional purchase. So we talked about that 3,000 per location restaurant. Basically, that CIO sat and looked at us, and that was his first response. Is, it's going to be cheaper for me to buy this. I'm just going to buy it and deploy it myself. And we're sitting at the table, and finally one of us, it wasn't me, a guy named John Lloyd, looks at him and says, so you're going to deploy 3,000 locations? And you're going to take service calls on 3,000 locations? And you're going to put replacements when a device goes bad for 3,000 locations, and you're going to automatically upgrade that equipment at the end of 3 years when that's out of service, out of life, whatever? And he looked at us and said, you know what, that's a lot of frustration. I'm going to build soft costs and build a story to my board about why I'm going to buy this as a service. So there are still customers who are going to talk TCO infrastructure, but we're starting, just like they've given up the conversation in TCO on telephony, we believe they're starting to give up the TCO and ROI investigation and infrastructure as they see this opportunity.
And one of the soft spots in the customer is a new location, right? They've gotten the internet. Think about it. They've got all this disparate stuff, and now they got to get a PO. They got to get capital approved. Blah 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 blah. And now they got to dispatch someone to go out and install. You can wrap this in for this stack without the access point starts at where's Katie?
With access point, here, and here at $299.
$299 a month. So it's very affordable. Without the access point, it can get down to
Yeah, it actually, just the SD-WAN UTM piece can start at $149. And then as you layer on the different pieces, it goes up from there. And you can buy them a la carte. So, say you're just adding a broadband, you could do the $149 piece. And then the customer then needs POEs once those die. And that's
So the soft spot again is that new office where they have to go through all this stuff in order to get equipment provisioned, installed, and supported. And you can get that in maybe one of their locations, and then you just start to land. You've landed, now you expand. You go to their other sites. We can talk SD-WAN between those sites, MPLS replacement. All of those things are now available as you land that first site.
Does Meraki ever offer trade-in rebates for old equipment, and we certainly pass that on to partners?
I don't believe they
WatchGuard
have,
does
not
it.
with us, they haven't.
Yeah, we have taken that on in our own business cases, so you get an opportunity and they've got some equipment. One, we'll look at maybe we can manage that.
I guess I'm trying to understand, so for a location, like if you have 100 locations and we're using different WAPs across the nation, and you want to stack Meraki's across the nation, and you want to convince them to replace all that old equipment, what can you help them do with that old equipment?
Meraki's built on the software license model, so the access point only works with a software license, and they don't care about taking back any
Yeah.
equipment. They're really like become a software company.
Yeah.
So
What,
it's a
what we
paperweight.
what we have seen when you kind of when we work those cases is that a customer maybe got those 100 sites through acquisition, right? So some are on one, and we almost do it as a phased approach for a customer. We say, well, we'll take your most troubled sites first, maybe that have the oldest equipment that they've kind of already written off the books. We'll start installing there, and then we'll gradually migrate that over time so that by the end of a rollout, they've hit all their 100 sites.
Right.
You had a question?
I'll speak to you guys after.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I have an ROI calculator that I can share with you of how
Oh, that'd be great, thank you.
that retail franchise, the one Rob was speaking to earlier, came out to be about $40 cheaper per site on the managed service side.
Nice,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great business model.
Customers, questions. What type of organizations benefit from SD-WAN? Again, retail is huge in terms of they will be looking at SD-WAN. If you have a retail customer, I guarantee they're already looking at it. One of our differentiators, as Matt had mentioned, both Cisco and Meraki has SD-WAN capability. So does VeloCloud. We're not picking one SD-WAN technology. We're actually ushering in and continually vetting SD-WAN providers, and we'll have, my guess and the outlook looks like a few different options as that market matures. And then it's not a matter of shoehorning VeloCloud in or Meraki in or Talari or whatever the option is. We'll have a lot of different options that you can pick the best fit for that customer.
And we'll walk away from deals.
And we'll walk away
Can't
from
be
deals too.
everything for everybody, you know?
But and I mentioned our deep sales engineering bench. It's the value we've seen in the channel is that we can get on a call with you first, kind of talk through what you know about the customer, your customer. We'll follow your lead. We'll get a sales engineer, get their expertise on it, and then if there's a fit and you feel comfortable, we're happy to come in with you and put as much sales engineering support behind you to diagnose the fit. Talk about their business outcomes, talk about their applications, get really deep with them technically. That's available. But large sites, but it can go down to one site. The fries with that. You're selling bandwidth, why not sell another $150 of managed equipment and get in deeper with the customer? Where are your services available? So as we mentioned, most of our services kind of shrink wrapped as a service are US plus Canada and North America. Others do go globally, but it's on a case-by-case basis. I think we've done a good job of not highlighting our fiber footprint, but today in Cincinnati, if you have a customer needing 100 meg in Cincinnati, we can do that all day long. And then as we close on Hawaiian Telecom, we expect that will be made available. And then can I bring my own bandwidth? So going back to 2 points, Cynthia mentioned, well, what about a customer that already has equipment, right? How do you go through that transition plan? The other question is, what if they already have bandwidth, right? They're under a contract with, and maybe you've sold them the bandwidth. You don't have to wait till that bandwidth is up in order to put these services on top of that, because you can bring your own. It's already established. Now, my guess is you're always working on getting all of their bandwidth under a certain contract. And again, we're just additive to that. You don't have to feel like you have to use our bandwidth because, we're only in 2 geographies.
Hey, your hosted product, we do a lot of hosted down in this region. This is a lot of transactional business for us. So it's BroadSoft. You guys obviously go over the top of
Yep.
We do. We prefer to use a VeloCloud SD-WAN box when we do that.
Okay.
So we're uniquely working with VeloCloud on being able to, at a very good price.
So like the full
But
suite
go
of
ahead.
features, do you basically have like 2 separate types of services? I imagine you have you can sell it as a trucking service, or you can sell it as like a premium service where you get, all the collaboration tools and everything else included. And then you get calling at least like 1-to-1, right, under that
Yes.
config, so you separate the 2?
Yeah.
What's the average seat cost, and do you have a fully baked mobility application?
Mhm.
Do you have, all the main stuff that we look for with any of the enterprise, hosted VoIP providers that we use now?
Absolutely. So really, there's 2 stacks then, the Cisco EHCS stack or the BroadSoft-based stack. Been doing both of those since early.
Well, Cisco's gonna be for the bigger customers.
Cisco's gonna be bigger.
We're talking more
The reason for that with
transactional
Cisco, yeah.
SMB.
The reason for that with Cisco is you really just can't deploy much less than about 300 to 500 seats per
Sure.
organization, because Cisco kills you on the licensing to go smaller than that, absolutely. So BroadSoft's done a great job. That's the reason I'm sure LSI is using them as well. BroadSoft's done a great job of building a multi-tenant platform for service providers to bring services. They build a core, you wrap services around it. So we've wrapped intense call recording around it, IVR application.
Is that per extension level, or?
That's per extension. The call recording
Okay.
can be per extension, can be full-time or ad hoc on the call recording. We've wrapped some pretty robust IVR capabilities around this so that we literally can take a call in, grab PIN numbers, hit databases, voice recognition, build applications pre-IVR even before you get to the BroadSoft core. Wrapped around it some more complex reporting that BroadSoft hasn't done the greatest job with as well. And then some additional call centers. And BroadSoft's got call center at the core, but then additional enhanced contact center, multi-check contact center. So back to your point, typically a normal seat, there's a basic seat that's a phone in a kitchen or a conference room with no voicemail. Usually the next phone is, let's just sell them a premium that's got all the collaboration. We can do some unique stuff, but we're talking about $25 a month for all the collaboration tools in a 411, same kind of thing.
And the phone as well.
25 all in, or is
Yes.
this phone on top of that?
No, that's all in.
So that's all in, so
That's all in.
25 all in. Now, I noticed you guys said you do installation for the rest of the equipment services. Does that include professional install?
No,
And is
so
there
let's
a
talk,
number of seats?
let's talk a little bit about that. We typically have built on our BroadSoft side, all of our hosted telephony services have been white glove installation, meaning that you typically have somebody on site to do install, right? Have somebody on site to do training, and we still offer that, but there is a fee for that, right? We also can deliver this as a self-install if it's simple enough, right? Or then kind of with a concierge or Sherpa concept we call, where we've got an install team at the office kind of working with on some on-site people. So the installation really is a custom. We want to talk a little bit about that. We don't fit so great, like we're not competing against Nextiva. You don't go to a website and buy 5 phones. This would be literally kind of a typical more mid-market 20 phones and above multi.
Which is fine, and we do a lot of those types of deals, but installation is a big thing for us. The ability to have someone come out, I mean, we've got providers that are, 10 or more phones at least, sending, tech out, and, I mean, obviously it's gonna be a sub in most cases, but, at least somebody
We
on
do the
site.
same thing. There is some fee associated with it. We do the same thing.
And for enough phones, we can work it into the business model.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we as Matt mentioned, we've been in this game for a long time. As as the parent is an ILEC carrier in Cincinnati, we've been over the last 15 years moving customers from TDM service to our BroadSoft platform. And it's all white glove, all, for every one of those installs, and then every major install outside of our footprint that's over the top, we want to make sure we're holding their hand.
On the install thing, kind of the same pre-sale, so if somebody says yes, they want 20 phones or 200 phones in the BroadSoft platform, we're going to put a project manager, we're going to put a person that's on the voice team similar to ISE, that'll talk about call flow, build the hunt groups, the call centers, specifically how they want it, interface into the paging systems, all those kinds of things you'd expect on a normal customer premise PBX.
I mean, most of the SMB space right now, you put an Ethernet pipe in, you just do hosted phones up to the top. You can see like consistently there'll be a lot of those types of orders or opportunities where you maybe put in a 20 or 50 meg dedicated internet connection and just.
Our caution to that and our belief is we vetted SD-WAN providers almost, it started off for that purpose. And we think for $100 a month or $50 to $150 a month, it's worth putting a VeloCloud box in there. And now you get quality of experience over that pipe.
Let me just describe that real quick, what he just said here. Typically, right, in an over-the-top provider, customers got their firewall, right? They're connected to the internet, PoE, PC, et cetera. You put a phone on it, and it's just going over the top. It's going over the raw internet, there's no quality service at all. We've specifically worked with VeloCloud to be able to drop a very inexpensive box right in here and tag the phone on a voice VLAN in the back of this, build a custom tunnel up here, and now literally we drop a phone over the internet, we can support that quality of service of voice through anybody's firewall, through anybody's internet. And that's one way that we've been pitching quite a bit on the voice side, because anybody says, hey, I do rely on my voice. Yeah, I do want something at $25 a month, but if I can throw in on top of that $50 a month that basically guarantees the quality of voice, then maybe there's some value there.